Yo, 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 what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champ of the peeps, Patty Pitts, here for a special edition of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, The Raw Rewind. And join with me, as always, the best, the West you cannot forget about, Sara Marshall. What's poppin', girl? How we feeling on this Tuesday?
I'm feeling oozy.
Feeling oozy.
I'm feeling a little oozy.
I am feeling oozy after last night.
Sammy oozy.
That was incredible. That
Mhm.
was, oh my God. It was nothing that I expected for all the right reasons.
Yeah. I think like if we're just talking about the show overall, I feel like the first hour was probably the best of the entire night.
Down.
And I think that's I feel like it lived up to the hype, like the entire show, but like I kind of wish I felt the same throughout the entire show that I did in the first hour. Like that would have been nice, but
yeah, there definitely was a little bit of a dip when it came to the second and third hour, whatever, and obviously for obvious reasons, but also things just went long, and we'll obviously get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a lot more. But yeah, it was. I don't think I've been that happy or excited to sit home and watch a Raw and genuinely be that into it for its entirety. That's what made it that special for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, and I feel like it was pretty successful. Other than obviously we'll talk about some of the things that we didn't particularly love, but it started off with a bang, certainly, because the acknowledgement ceremony that they had been hyping was traded in for the trial of Sami Zayn. In case people are not aware, from what I heard, Afa and Sika could not get to the show. And then Rikishi apparently got sick, so he couldn't make it. So that was the main thing. So I know that we kind of were like speculating about it last week or when we were talking about SmackDown. Yes. Thinking that maybe it was never actually planned. From what I've read, it was actually planned. It's just they had to call an audible and figure something out to fill that space, because I think that's what they were going to do. But I feel like the fact that this was something that they maybe just came up with as quickly as possible, it was very well done. Especially, I was kind of shocked when Raw started and you hear Roman's music hit. I was kind of surprised that he was starting the show and this whole thing was starting, but I'm glad they did, because I think it was a really good segment, very shocking, I think, all around, but so well done.
It was so well done because they didn't start it at the entrance. Okay. The entrance felt like you were getting an intro to all of the characters in the show, with Sammy, just the little measly little one. And then they jump right into it like, you are the fly on the wall. And I mean, for Paul, this is my thing. I feel like they're showing their cards a little too much with ending this and, their hatred and whatever, because Heyman's throwing out some haymakers.
I know.
For comments.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Do you want to go over everything? Should I just like
okay,
also a little like review of what happened. So they come out, as you said, you talked about their entrance. It was very much like tension filled immediately, which is, again, like we've said it a million times, credit to them for selling it as well as they have been, because you could just tell like the awkwardness was felt immediately. And I noticed it too, and I don't know if other people did, but I pointed out like Sammy wasn't wearing I don't know if this is the proper word, but it's just, a lei. Like he didn't have the flowers around his neck, and all of the other guys did, but Sammy didn't. So I immediately was like, oh no, this is not going to go well for Sammy. So once they get into the ring, they sit at the table. Paul Heyman starts talking, and he accuses Sammy of being in cahoots, basically, with Kevin Owens the entire time that he's been trying to join the bloodline. And that he was essentially trying to infiltrate from the inside. He showed a few clips. I think it was like 4 clips of what he called evidence as proving Sammy was not actually working with the bloodline, and what he felt was damning evidence to prove otherwise. And he says that he is guilty as charged. And what did he say? He said something.
He pretty much, all right. He said he wanted him dead.
I know, but he said something about something bastard. I don't remember what word he used before that.
Son of a bastard.
No. No. But anyway, he said some pretty nasty things to Mr. Sammy. And again, Sammy sells it so well, like legitimately looked like he was about to cry. So
I think there were people in the crowd who were going to cry.
I know, right? And so Sammy grabs the mic and he just kept reiterating how hurtful it was that they were accusing him of being this way. And he basically couldn't believe that any of them, but especially the tribal chief, could believe that this was what he was actually doing, especially with how much he has gone through with them over the last 9 months. And he said that he felt like he's proved himself. And so his best defense is no defense at all. And as great and as monumental as that was like a movie clip.
That answer.
Yeah. That was like a movie clip. They've been showing us those ones from the last time Mania was in Hollywood. That was like one of those, right? Like that felt like he was reenacting something. Roman gets pissed again, starts yelling in his deep voice and says, Sammy, you have so much of an ego that you won't even explain yourself. Like, we're not worth, being told what was going on, blah, 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 blah. And then he just yells for Solo and Solo just comes over and looks like he's just going to like inject him with something. Like that's
really
like what it looks like.
Look weird where he came over and he's like, what's up?
Like he was just like gonna just whip out like a syringe and just like into the neck. Yeah, it was just like, and then the biggest shock of them all, which I loved, obviously, I think everyone did, obviously, but Jay comes in and stops Solo. Oh my God. I was sitting at the kitchen table. My nephew was eating and my sister and I were sitting there, but I was watching this on my iPad because that's the only way I can watch it early. And, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like as it was happening, oh my God, oh my God. Like and I was like, oh my God, it's Jay. It's Jay. Like I was so excited that of the two that could have stepped in, that it was Jay. And I was like, this is a full circle moment right now.
Oh, I screamed brilliant.
Yes.
I just went brilliant. Just
by yourself in the basement.
Eureka. Like it was.
So Jay comes in to save the day. He stops Solo from inflicting any sort of pain on Mr. Sammy Uso. We'll get to that in a second. The comment, by the way.
I know that's what I'm trying. That's the eyes.
Then he says, you know what? Like I have my own footage to show in defense of Sammy. So he then shows multiple clips of Sammy when he took a chair to the back for, I forget who was that for. I don't know. Anyway, he took Claymore, done all these things where he's through. Yeah, the chair was. It doesn't matter. Whatever. He stepped in and took hits from people. He helped win matches. He, saved them from losing multiple times. Then Jay says, I never liked you. I actually despised you. I didn't trust you, but because you looked past my flaws and saw the good in me, that's exactly what family does. He asked everyone to throw up a 1 if they wanted Sammy to stay in the bloodline. And all of us at home were like, yo.
If you think I did not, my hand was so up. I was just like, I'll give you an actual image. I'm here just going. It was incredible. If anyone walked downstairs, they would have thought I was a lunatic. It was awesome.
Your name is Mark. And then your name is Mark. Okay, that took you way too long.
It did. It's been a long day. It's been a long day, Sarah.
And so basically the entire audience had their hands up with the 1 and they started chanting Sammy Uso. And that's when Roman stood up and he said, as the tribal chief and the head of the table, I find Sami Zayn not guilty. And everyone's like, yay. And then he's like, for now. So he tells Sammy that Jay just kind of saved you tonight. He basically, how I put it, was like he extended his probation period, is kind of like how I felt like it was basically. And said he didn't want to see him again until the Rumble, after he helped the Usos with their match. Said, finish what you do. I don't want to see you until the Rumble. And that's when you will have your final test at the Rumble to determine if you really are a part of the bloodline. And I think that could be infinite possibilities. Like, what could that be? What are your initial ideas? Because I have a few.
My initial one is, I have a feeling that Sammy is going to be forced to be the only one at ringside for Roman. And and he's got to make sure that he does everything in his power for Roman to keep his title. And this is where I'm not going to try to predict the turn here, but I'm definitely going to predict that seeds are going to be planted for that turn. Whether it is, him hitting Roman over the head with a chair instead of KO, if,
intentionally or unintentionally?
Unintentionally. Like, that just seems planted,
but then Roman won't take it.
That's the thing. So I there's a lot of stuff, like he could, the whole day leading up, he would have to be like, he would have to do every, like, his assistant essentially. I don't know what specifically, but then when you get to the ring, like, it's going to be an all show thing of Sammy's test. And the final test is not going to be the final test until KO pins Roman 1, 2, 3.
Yikes. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I was thinking that, something that would have to do with Roman's match specifically, because as of right now, the Usos do not have a match, so that can't be something. Plus, they are saying that Jimmy got hurt. That we'll get into that in a second. So I would assume that they won't have them have a match. My only other idea, which I guess it doesn't make sense that much anymore, is if they were in the Rumble match and Sammy either had to sacrifice himself in his opportunity or something. That was the only other thing I could think of. But I feel like we've gotten so many twists and turns, like even that whole segment with, them wanting to boot him and Jay, like that was not something I could have predicted, even from all the conversations we've had. Are you raising your hand?
I just had an absolute
hold on to it.
Of an idea.
But
I want you to finish your point.
Okay. But yeah, I feel like I can't really predict what's going to happen, because I think, I've said it before that now that we have Triple H in charge, it's a lot more unpredictable, whereas it was the complete opposite with Vince. It's like you could kind of predict what was going to happen. And with this, that's like, we have so many different ideas and theories, but I mean, so far, I don't think he's done almost anything that we've talked about.
All right. I'm about to blow your mind.
Are you?
What if everything I said happens and KO wins? All right. The point is KO wins.
Okay.
What if that's the final test? You think it's over? And he goes, no, your final test is you're going to go and you're going to win that Rumble match for me. I'm the tribal chief. I shouldn't have to win the Rumble match. You win the Rumble match for me. Or it's like the Usos get it. Like whoever wins me this match becomes like whatever. I don't know. It's not my job to decide. Point is that they go that direction with it. And then you think Sammy's going to win or like something, and that's when The Rock comes out.
You think he's going to be at Rumble?
It's written in the stars. The stars are aligning in every facet. Like I just like,
I mean, it wouldn't not make sense, because the Rumble is considered one of the big four. So it would make sense if he did show up at Rumble, and then, we maybe saw him twice again between now and Mania, and then eventually full blown at Mania. But I mean, I wouldn't be mad. I feel like it's just, there are so many things going on right now that it's difficult to figure out what is going to happen as a result of the outcome of the Rumble match. Because,
why would you upload today the 2016 Royal Rumble full match and have the thumbnail be Roman getting his hand held by our tribal chief.
I mean, but see, like, why wouldn't you try to tease it though? Like, even if it wasn't happening, I mean, the social media team is very well aware that everyone is talking about The Rock.
Social media team might be the most involved.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, so it would be great.
I did hear that though.
Okay,
So yeah, let's get to some comments because we've been rambling here, and it'll be a good segue into our next topic. David said sup, obviously. He is a regular peep here. So you gotta give him some love. Freddie coming out with a fact, a little stat from the night. 2.6 million tuning in. That is absurd. That's like
brilliant for them to also not take any commercials in that first hour, because I feel like that forced people to stay and watch. You know what I mean? Like, if that's something that they do weekly, that's fine. But I feel like when you've hyped up a show for so many weeks, it was like such a good move for them to do that, because then they wouldn't lose anybody, checking on other things during the commercial or whatnot.
Yeah. And then we have this, just a little update for if you've been living under a rock. It was fake. It's not true. And
is it possible that it could still happen? Yes, absolutely. But the news of that actually happening like 2 weeks ago is not true. And I think I would like to believe that because more people are involved in it, like Nick Khan, other than Vince McMahon, that because they saw the blowback from basically every media outlet out there, that they will reconsider that if that is a possibility at some point.
Thank you, Sarah. Roman Sammy at the Chamber. This is what I've also heard, but
well, he is on. Did you see the tease for the poster? Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it because of the Canada thing. That's why I think a lot of people are going to believe it, because obviously Sammy's from Canada and so is Kevin Owens. I don't know, dude. Like, I hate and I love
Mania. Why would Roman fight at Elimination Chamber before Mania?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. But I hate and I love that we can't predict what's happening. Like, I hate it because I'm like, oh man, like I want to be able to talk about something, but then it's kind of like nice to not know what's going to happen next, because I feel like it's been a while since we've been able to just like discuss all our theories and ideas and brainstorm and be like, oh my God, what if this happened? Whereas before it'd be like, you might have that. And then you're like, why am I even thinking about this? Because none of this is going to happen.
No, but I agree there, where I love being right, as everyone does, except in wrestling. If I can predict what's going to happen, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And that does not mean that I can know what the match is or is not beforehand. I don't want to know the script. Tell me what the movie is, but don't give me any spoilers. You know what I mean? Like, just let it play out. I like that. I want to be invested. Give me a reason to invest in something.
Well, and I feel like, if you can kind of come up with what they're going to be doing from home, it's like they're paid. They're supposed to be the experts. Like, you shouldn't be able to come up with what these people are literally being paid to do. So
for a while.
Yeah.
And I think you can also jump on that bandwagon as well, that it was just very predictable. And something that may not be there. I like this though. I like this prediction.
Yes.
This is where my mind was going.
Well,
David.
for the audio listeners, it is David saying, or Sammy wins the Chamber to face Roman, which I like, because we were talking about Sammy winning the Rumble to face Roman. So as long as that can happen and it's for a title, preferably the Universal, so that Cody can go for the WWE title, I'm all for it. I am so excited. Like, I get so excited just thinking about it.
I could not agree more.
Okay, so let's slide into the Usos versus the Judgment Day, because there are some stuff that was going on in that match as well. It was for the Raw tag team titles. I had declared last week, I think we both kind of did, that the Judgment Day were going to win, and unfortunately that did not happen.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a pretty good match though, and I don't feel like Dominic stood out that badly. Like I feel like because he's the inexperienced one, like he's, more green and whatever. I didn't feel like he stood out, which is good. Like I felt like he kind of meshed in well with everybody. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm trying to find a way to phrase what I want to say is that Dominic is supposed to be like, yeah, is like the um, punching bag
Yeah.
of the WWE universe right now,
Mm-hmm.
where people forget he was a tag champion.
Yeah.
He is a Mysterio, and he does know how to, work in the ring. The only issue is his, character stuff and the mic
Yeah.
stuff, which that comes with all practice stuff. But the in-ring stuff, if you can nail that, and he's very good in the ring. Like I will say, and it's teasing it a little bit, obviously, but when that 1D hits,
Yeah.
he took that well. Like that could have been really bad for someone, in his position in real life, where it's just like you're so new and whatnot and green. But he deserves more credit than he's getting.
Well, and he's had I mean, I would say some people might call him like a Nepo baby, which I guess to a certain extent he is. Do you know what that is, right?
I
Okay.
am a nepo baby.
Oh, okay. Well,
In other senses, in other worlds.
um, but he has been fortunate to work with so many good people. I mean, legends, like one of the first big feuds that he had was Edge. So it's like, I mean, he's worked with so many talented guys that inevitably that's going to rub off on him. So anyway, so I felt like it was a very good match. It was very back and forth, which I liked because it wasn't just like dominant on one side. I felt like there was a lot of good moments in this match. And then we got the kicker at one point, which had me hanging on the edge of my seat because I was getting nervous. Jimmy gets hurt, and at first, I thought it was legit. They sold that really well, especially because
I
the
think they
ref threw
threw
up
it.
the X. Yeah, and see, that's the thing though, is the fact that they showed it. I was like, okay, this is a work because they know that like everybody knows for the most part what the X means, and they usually try not to show the ref doing it.
I know, and I
So
wanted to ask you that is what your thoughts were about them kind of watering it down.
I was okay with it because like like I said, for me, I was on board with thinking it was legitimate at first because they were doing such a good job. Like it took me a second to realize, oh wait, no, this is going to be similar to what happened with Finn Balor. And then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, because then I started thinking, oh, they're going to want Sammy to come in for Jimmy, and oh no, Sammy's going to lose for them. That's my
Yeah.
immediately thought. So I
This
was
is
like,
and that's where, and I'll put up this comment right now because this is what my initial thoughts were. Where
okay.
at 2 weeks in a row or 2 and 3 weeks, tomato potato,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna do this. Oh my god, this is gonna become a thing, whatnot. But no, it's brilliant writing and callbacks, and it it gives the fan an appreciation and gives them, thank you for sticking with this storyline, whatever, and watching week to week, rewarding. That's the word I'm looking for. It's
Well, and
rewarding the
and
fan for that.
yeah, and it works to the favor of the fans, like you're saying, with when it comes to Sammy, because Sammy is super over. It's the whole reason why he's still a part of the bloodline storyline, because that, like we said on Sunday, he wasn't supposed to still be working with them right now. So all of
No.
this is just kind of like they're coming up with it maybe as they go along. It wasn't long-term booking. So I like that they had Sammy step in, and I'm glad that the Usos won because of that. Like, as disappointed as I was, because I was really banking on Judgment Day becoming tag champions, even though I didn't want Dominic to be one of them, I would rather it be Finn. I would have been more bummed, I think, if Sammy had lost, and then that was like the progression of the end of Sammy with the bloodline, because I feel like there are better ways to get to that point than to have him be the fall guy in this situation. Um, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I was on the boat where at first I wanted him to lose because I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted. I think that's because I just want Judgment Day to have the Raw tag titles and have them split, not
Yeah.
because I just want them to lose. I want to get to that story and get
Yeah.
to that, portion of WWE Raw. So
Well, maybe we're gonna get there at some point because maybe they'll be like, oh, well, Finn was supposed to be in the match because he got hurt and it's not fair. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll try and do that type of thing. I don't know, because I feel like that would have been what would have happened had they
Very
lost
heel move
because of
too.
Sammy. Yeah, so it would have been, they might do something like that at some point.
Mhm.
But overall, very good match. We knew it was gonna happen. Both tag teams are A+. So
Pretty much
um
over.
yeah, really good. So very much looking forward to SmackDown to see what goes on with the Bloodline. But because it was Raw 30, we got to talk about the legends that we saw and the legends that we didn't see.
Let's make it
Because
easy, Sarah, for both of us. And who
okay,
is our favorite and least or worst? Least
okay.
favorite and favorite legend that we saw, or moment.
My favorite is always Ron Simmons or Farouk. I don't know why, but I feel like when I was like watching wrestling as like a young girl, I like almost had a crush on him or something. Like I don't know why. Like I also had very strange taste as a child because I was
I can
attracted to
tell.
Scott Hall, who was a big hairy man, but I thought he was so hot as like a 12-year-old. I don't know.
I like
But
Dawn Marie. Is that weird?
no, no. I mean, you were a boy liking the bra and
No,
panties matches.
but
What's
like
weird
that'd be
about
the
that?
equivalent, it's the weird taste. She was a little older. I don't know. I'm trying to think of
No,
like the
you
weirder.
wouldn't have known at that age that she was like not in her 20s. You know what I mean? Did you think Sable was hot? She wasn't in her
Oh my
20s.
god, I thought Sable was the sexiest woman.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm
I
saying.
knew
But
she was in her 50s or 40s, whatever it was.
no, she was in her 30s. She's not that old. She's
She was in
married to
her
Brock
30s.
Lesnar.
I have no sense of age.
Yeah, no, she's probably like in her 40s or 50s now, maybe because she's with Lesnar, so she can't be that
Which
old.
that is a whole other topic
I
for
know
a
that's
podcast.
crazy.
That's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, so I would say Ron Simmons was probably my favorite. Maybe even IRS just because of when he came in. I thought that was pretty funny. My least favorite, and maybe this will get me some shade, was Hulk Hogan because it's just like I feel like it could have gone over better, but I feel like people are just kind of like done with him at this point because he just keeps, you know, being annoying and like
No,
doing
but
things,
he
and
is.
he got no reaction basically from anybody, and the only reason why he got any sort of applause was his cheap pop of mentioning the Eagles. So it's
I
like,
lost it. That was incredible.
well,
I,
everybody was saying it was like a cheap pop because it was like you
it
had to say it
absolutely was a cheap pop.
because he didn't get any other reaction. But yeah, I would say also, side note, how long did it take you to realize that the brunette was Alundra Blaze? Because that took me way too long.
It took me longer than I should have, but I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," once I saw the title and
Yes.
not a trash barrel next to it, I knew it was her.
I was like, I was shook because I was staring at the screen and I was like, okay, who is this? I couldn't figure it out. And then she started talking and then I saw the title. But I was like, dang, I mean, I had no idea. I don't keep up with her, but I know you're so used to seeing her as a platinum blonde. I was like, oh, I mean, it looks good. I was just like, who is this and why does she look familiar?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say those are probably my favorites
The Hogan,
and least favorite.
the only reason it makes sense to me and why I don't care and not mad, he was the first person to come out to introduce the first Raw.
No, I know,
Like,
and that's why I'm saying, like, I mean,
continuity.
it could have been better for him,
Oh,
like, it made
absolutely.
sense, but it was
Yeah.
just kinda, like, based on what's been going on with him over the last several years, it was probably
Yeah.
like, "Eh."
The IRS definitely is up there with my favorites, is what you said. I saw him being advertised and was like, "How the hell are we going to incorporate him into what's going on?"
Yeah.
And to pay your taxes and nothing to do, like it was so good. It was awesome. And I'm trying to think of who my least favorite was. Um, I mean, honestly, and I hate to say it because I do love the King, but
Oh,
Jerry
yeah.
Lawler was just awful. Just
I
terrible.
I did like his back and forth with Kevin and Corey though, because I felt like they were kind of keeping him on his toes a little bit. Obviously he came in as semi the heel commentator and that's why he was
Yeah.
going after Kevin. But I feel like there was moments where he wasn't expecting Corey to kind of give him a jab, and so it was kind of caught him off guard. But yeah, it was just like the only grace I can give him is that if we're talking about legends, he was very much on brand with like the type of commentator he was, especially in the early days of Raw.
Oh, he's
That's
brilliant. Yeah.
the only way I could give him a pass. Otherwise, it was just like, okay, like
Yeah, I could go without
whatever.
it.
Yeah, it was fine, like I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot of people that are, I don't know, of that age bracket that would care that we're watching. You know, that would be like, oh my god, yay!
You're like, who's Jerry Lawler, Dad? And it's like, wow.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
But no,
Where do I start?
I
Where do
follow
I
a lot of
start?
people on Twitter, and they were not happy with Jerry Lawler, and I'm like, okay, like, dude, let's just take what he is.
Yeah.
This dude is not commentating now. He was commentating in the 90s for
Yeah. Yeah. So moving on to a good portion.
I was about to say, this was truly my favorite legend segment.
Yeah. Oh my god, I was so excited when they saw him they showed him walking out. I was like, oh my god, he's on Raw. Oh my god, he's on Raw. I was so excited.
Let me talk to you.
He looked so good because he's one of my husbands.
You like the hair?
I didn't like the hair. Okay. I didn't like it.
Weird.
I don't know what I was like, did he just not style it? Like what? I couldn't figure out what exactly was different, but it stood out to me immediately. So I don't know if he was trying something new.
Okay, this is what I don't want to spend a lot of time on this theory, but I do want to just mention it. Is maybe, do you think he was doing it because crazy hair? Like it's like, I'm stressed. It's like, I'm so done with this, and like
it could be.
And if that's the case, then god damn it, the details matter, and that is when you know a true superstar in his element. So yeah, I love seeing him. I love seeing him.
I know. So I was very excited about it because we did see there was a bunch of crossovers of SmackDown superstars to Raw. So I was very happy that he was one of them. He comes out. The best part, and I laughed immediately when he said it, when he was talking, he was basically calling out Bray, and he called Bray a grown man incel playing with puppets and spooky music. That was the greatest thing. I was just like, only on Raw in 2023 could you hear someone say Bray Wyatt is a grown man incel playing with puppets. And I was just like, you're so brilliant. Like, you were so good. So that was just amazing. That
is a master on the mic.
He said that he's not afraid. He's not afraid of that. He's not afraid. Okay. And he said, the legends that are here, they're living in their past glory. And that's exactly what Bray Wyatt is doing. And he called him out to the ring and said, let me show you why, I'm not afraid of this match, blah, blah, blah. Then we hear the gong and it's like, okay, the Undertaker. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't care because I appreciate and respect what the Undertaker has done in the industry, but I was just never a fan or really cared that much. Like he had some great matches, great moments, great career, but I was never like Undertaker, And then the second that they flipped it over to the American Badass, I was like, I yelled to my sister because when we were watching it when we were younger, that was our favorite Undertaker. Like that's the only Undertaker we ever cared about. And so I was like, oh my God, he's going to be the American Badass. And then I was like, maybe it's a troll. I was like, this is another one. Like I said this last week.
It did take a long time.
I know. And I was like,
this is a long time.
I thought it was going to be Bray, like trolling or something. And then I was like, oh, because that would be like the ultimate troll.
Jesus, that would have been.
But eventually he got his old behind through the gorilla on his motorcycle and then very carefully rode it around the ring because obviously it's, fans, I guess, are a lot closer. The barricades are a lot closer to the ring. And nowadays,
chopper too. We had the high one. I don't know.
So he came out. He takes forever to get into the ring and just kind of stands there like the Undertaker does because, no one takes longer to get to the ring than the Undertaker or heel Randy Orton.
Heel Randy Orton was taking his sweet ass.
Oh my God. The way that the amount of time it took him, I think it was like when he was a heel champion at like WrestleMania and the ramp was like 3 football fields long and it took him like 8 minutes to get to the ring. I was like, oh my God, like this is ridiculous. But anyway,
soaking it in.
Yeah. So LA calls for his music to be cut and talked some trash, the only way that LA Knight could do. And then Bray's music hits and it gets dark. And then Bray just shows up out of nowhere right behind LA
That was
Knight.
incredible.
And this is another part. I don't know if you caught this. So then, of course, LA is like trying to get away from him. So he's like getting closer to the ring, but he's caught between the Undertaker and Bray. Like, what do I do? And then he knows that he's going to have to get into the ring. And I don't know if you caught this, but he like looks at the Undertaker and he's like, I'm sorry about what I said earlier. And then like before he gets into the ring, and then he gets in. And then obviously the Undertaker sets him up for a choke slam, only to hand him off to Bray, who then hits the sister Abigail. Taker and Bray kind of stare at each other, and the Undertaker whispers a few sweet nothings in his ear, and then he leaves. After it takes about 3 minutes for him to get the motorcycle started. But pretty good moment. Like, I didn't include this section in the legend stuff, but
I love this segment because it had probably three of my favorite things in wrestling, with Badass Taker. My only issue is, Sarah, why did they have Kid Rock instead of Fred Durst?
I think they have a problem with Fred Durst. That's my guess, because the last time that he was at a show, I think it was SummerSlam, he flip off the camera on live TV or something like that.
The birds, and they asked him to leave.
Yeah, so I think that's part of it. Although the last time they saw Kid Rock, he started making out with the chick next to him. So I don't know. Maybe they think, oh, kissing's natural. It's beautiful.
It was consensual.
It was a beautiful display of affection between two lovers. Like, I don't know if that's what they were going with, but that was my immediate process of the situation, because I was like, where's Roland? Like, that would have been so
I would have
good,
went. I did go apeshit anyways. But oh my god, that was my
by yourself.
Oh, see, here's the thing. I am just going nuts by myself down here. So
you gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna express. And when I heard I am American Badass, I went nuts, because I legitimately thought they would never do this in wrestling again. I know you do it in video games, but no, you had to do it for the 30th, because, like, let's face it,
iconic.
The dead man is dead. You know, that.
You know who else we should have gotten? Which would have been so sick? Masked Kane. In the old, we hate Kane, right? Yeah, he's a douche. But still, when I think of American Badass Undertaker, I think of Kane. But given when we talk about problematic people, we're gonna talk about Glenn Jacobs. So maybe it's better that
it's Kane. It's gotta be Kane.
But I guess we could try and pretend that Glenn is not Kane. Maybe we could have gotten fake Kane.
Well, he was there. And did you know that Bray Wyatt, LA Knight and Taker were both managed by William Moody, Paul Bearer?
No, I did not.
So another little connection there. And
what kind of ding dong would name their kid Los Angeles Knight? I don't know. Just a question. I just wanted to throw that in there. Anyway. So we kind of talked about this a little bit ago, but I want to talk about it now. We hyped it up. We were very excited about Becky Lynch versus Bayley in a steel cage. So basically, we saw Damage Control come out, and then Becky made her entrance looking amazing, because typical of a woman to have a child and look better after having a child than before having a child.
She looks gorgeous.
I know. I don't understand it. It's very rude. And she was attacked by Damage Control as she was making her entrance. And then they were like throwing her around outside the ring, threw her in the ring, and then tried to lock themselves in there so the referees could not get in. And then eventually referees did come out, as well as Adam Pearce, to check on her as Damage Control posed on top of the cage. So the cage match did not happen. And from all the whisperings online about why is because the trial of Sami Zayn ran too long, and it forced them to cut things. And my biggest issue is that this was so Vince. This is such an old school mentality that out of everything to cut, you cut a women's match. Like, you didn't cut down the DX segment, which didn't need to be as long as it did. You didn't cut down other things. Like, you didn't cut out like uh one of the poker backstage segments. You didn't cut one of those out. That could have saved you 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And the way they were promoting this, it was like, oh, it's the first women's cage match
Yeah,
on Raw in like this many
20
years.
years.
And then it was like, and then it didn't happen. And you guys were hyping this up, and so many people were excited because of who was in it, especially.
Yeah.
So that was just really, really disappointing.
It was, and it sucks that this is the disappointing moment from the night.
Mm-hmm.
If it was any other night or any other show, I would say, then I would be a little more PO'd about it, because this was a good match. This wasn't just like some stupid, women's feud just to fill time
Yeah.
and steel cage because that's the era. No, like this can build to something,
Mm.
it can become a legit feud that doesn't matter about titles, it's about putting on the best match.
Yeah.
And with that thinking in mind, I'm going to spin it where that's where you go with this. Bailey and Becky have done everything. A steel cage to them is basically like a steel cage to like John Cena and The Miz. Like it's regular with how things are now. And with this, you can go to that next level. And here's an idea. They got rid of the pay-per-view, but not the match. Bring Hell in a Cell. Do
Mm-hmm.
Hell in a Cell at Mania. That's
I
how you pay
mean,
it back.
yeah.
You want it, you got your match cut off on a Raw 30th anniversary that people wanted, and that's on us, and we fucked up. And the only way we can repay you and repay the fans, honestly, too, is by going that next step. And why not do them in a Hell in a Cell, first women's Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania? Not make it like not the main event, obviously, because titles, but like that middle match that every card has where it's
Yeah.
that one that just it gets you there,
Well, you have
and
to
then
remember you have to
yeah,
remember though, there's going to be 2 main events technically because there's 2 nights. So, it doesn't have to be the women's title match. I guess it depends on who's involved at that moment, because that match trumps a women's title match. I wouldn't care about the women's title match if that was happening.
the only women's title match I could say with like participants would
Mhm.
be like a Bianca, Charlotte, Rhea, Bianca for the
Yeah.
title trumps that. But everything else is you said, yeah, I would rather watch to end the night. I would rather watch a Hell in a Cell between Bailey and Becky Lynch. I
Well, and
agree with that.
I mean, I understand too why championship matches are generally the main event, but I feel like it shouldn't be the norm all the time, because I think there are going to be feuds that are for a title that people don't really care about, or it's like not that hyped up, and it's like you're putting more into the fact that it's a title match than like how invested people are into it, or how
Yes.
good the match is inevitably going to be. So it's like, it would depend on whoever the women's champions are at that time. But I would
I would
love
say
that.
the
I think that,
only pay-per-views that should, without a doubt, have a match end in or main event be for the title, WrestleMania,
Mhm.
SummerSlam, and that's really it.
Yeah.
Maybe Royal Rumble, depending on the feud,
Yeah.
but the Rumble match should always end. That's my opinion. And then
I
Survivor
know.
Series, because it is, maybe no, screw that, not Survivor Series. I don't think you
Okay.
need Survivor Series to end in a championship, but that's another topic for
Yeah.
another podcast. That's why we have a show on Spotify
Yes.
and Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your
And
podcasts,
YouTube.
and YouTube, Sarah's YouTube channel.
Yes. So, because this was one of the segments that didn't get cut for the women, we have DX, who
Dun, dun, dun,
returned
dun.
again. And it
Dun,
was a
dun,
good
dun,
segment. I
dun.
want to start off by saying that it was a good segment. It was funny, had great comedic timing. For me, I just felt, because we're coming off the heels of what should have been the women's title match, or the women's cage. Sorry. This is a segment that didn't need to be as long as it was, because we just had like the 20-year anniversary of DX like not that long ago. So like, as fun as this was, I don't know how much we needed all of what happened. Like, it's great, it's entertainment, it was nice, but I'm just like, I just wish that we could have gotten the cage match. That's
I
all. I'm
know.
just like, even just a couple minutes of it, even if this is eventually what would have happened and it ended in a DQ or something, it's like, at least can we see some of it? Because like there was a lot of us that were really, really looking forward to that match the most. So
I know. But I will say with this segment, this was not a DX segment at the end of the day.
No, I felt like it was just like a Raw Legends segment.
But it wasn't even that. No, it's not even that. This was a little kind of like, all right, who are the mainstays right now? Who are the guys that when we look in 5 years to be, trading titles and not just the Intercontinental and US, like trading world titles back and forth on shows, it's going to be the Street Profits. It's going to be Imperium to some way, shape, or form. And obviously it's going to be Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah.
So
no, I felt that way too. It felt like they were like tipping their cap to like those guys. And so that was exciting to me because it kind of felt like not passing of the torch, but in a way, that's kind of what it felt like. Because
was a passing of the torch.
Yeah, because they could have picked anybody, and they picked those. I mean, they brought Imperium from SmackDown. So, I mean, I feel like it's very telling of who they chose.
And the way they did it too. And this is why I am not, I feel like people who are shitting on the segment for DX, they made fun of themselves the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
This was not them trying to relive their glory days. This is them trying to be like, we're the old ones now.
Yeah.
We're the new people that you're going to be. And everyone loves Kurt Angle. You're not going to be getting mad at Kurt Angle for coming out. So let's put him in there. And that was the other thing that when, how I said, when the show started in the ring and not in the entrances, when they go, then the badass, and they just look over at Kurt. Yeah. Like, Kurt, what the hell are you doing here, man? And his response is just, well, I always wanted to be in DX. Like, that was perfect, where it's not them trying to be better than what they are. It's just them being dudes now.
And the evolution of Kurt Angle, I feel like, is something that people don't really talk about or give him credit for, because he was supposed to be a very serious character in WWE, WWF, because he was an Olympic gold champion. He was a wrestler. Like, he was traditionally trained, and so him coming in, especially at that time, was a little controversial because people didn't really consider professional wrestling to be legitimate, and it was fake. It was this and that. But he was supposed to be taken seriously, but the way that he just evolved into such a beloved character and like so funny, just naturally, like just so dorky and funny. I'm glad that we were able to experience some of that last night, because they could have completely botched his involvement, especially with where they had him in on the show, but they didn't. I feel like it was just perfect. So
when he pulls off the second shirt,
I know,
and it's the goddamn Stars and Stripes referee, I lost it.
It was good. And I did like the moment of Triple H stepping up to Gunther. I did like that. And for a second, I was like, oh my God, that would be such a sick match.
Would be such a banger.
And then I was like, oh man, he can't wrestle ever.
It's like, I'm retired. I can't do
I know. And it's like, he literally can't wrestle. It's not, so it's like the other guys, like they could, if they wanted to some extent, but I was just like, darn it. Like, oh man.
What do you think
Speaking of dream matches, like Gunther would be in a bunch.
That would be it. Oh, I might put that in there.
I know.
Did you hear the comment that Triple H called Road Dogg?
Yeah. What do you call
Butterbean?
Butterbean. Yeah, I did. And it's funny because I'm glad that there's still like some love there, because Road Dogg was fired last year, I think.
Oh, that was and obviously a Vince thing.
No, I know. So I'm saying, like, it's cool to still see him come around, is what I mean, because some of them get like salty. And I do like that they alluded to Billy Gunn, but obviously because of the circumstances of him being at AEW and what
did they say specifically?
They were saying the badass, like they were going to introduce him for.
They said bad, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously
I was saying it along with it that I just thought actually said Billy Gunn.
Yeah,
and
well,
heard
he was trending.
Silence from my TV and had a look.
You were like, oh wait, yeah. So he was trending, but obviously they were thinking about having him there for the DX anniversary, whenever that happened earlier or a few, months ago, whatever it was. But Tony Khan wanted like something in return. I don't remember if they wanted to he wanted them to mention AEW live on air or something like that, and WWE was like, no. So that's why Billy can't be there.
Baby steps.
But
it's coming, but baby steps.
It is what it is. You got the point across. I don't feel like it would be different if it was like Triple H wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like it's just not the same. So we did get Imperium versus Seth Rollins and the Street Profits. Amazing match. I don't think that we would have expected anything else. Basically, it was happening because Gunther was like, "Hey, if you want us to get out of this ring, you're gonna have to make us get out of this ring." And they were all like, that's when Triple H stepped up to him, and they were all joking about how they're too old and they're retired. And so then it was like, oh well, who could we come out here to face Gunther? And then Seth Rollins comes out. You could just tell how much they're like not in awe of him necessarily, but just kind of enjoy Seth, especially when this current character of him like singing around and just like laughing.
When they were doing the
I know. And then and Shawn Michaels being like, oh, like at the end, and it was just like, just stop, Grandpa, just stop it. And then they were like, oh wait, there's 3 of them and 1 of you. What are we gonna do? And then the Street Profits come out, and then they're like, oh, but like, what are we gonna do? Like, we need a referee. And then they're all looking at Triple H. And Triple H is like,
no. You're missing.
Oh, we need to make it a match. We need to make it a match.
We need to make it official.
At Triple H. Yeah, and Triple H is, why are you looking at me? Booking is hard. And then enter Teddy Long, which you knew because Teddy Long is notorious for making tag matches. So he comes out and says,
militant.
Yeah, and then he does his little dance. Makes it a 3-on-3, says they need a ref. They're talking. Angle ends up taking his DX shirt off to show that he has a special guest referee shirt on, and that's when the match happens. Basically, nothing incredible from the match other than it being a really good match. Rollins and Profits win with a pin over my Bay, and
he's just the fall guy.
But you know what? I don't
the fall guy.
I don't know. I don't like it. Okay, I don't appreciate it. Kaiser could take some pins every now and then.
Is he?
I don't know. I
actually want to know that. It's always Vinci, but Ludwig does not take any falls.
Because I think Kaiser was like a part of the original Imperium, and
we're saving him.
Vinci wasn't, so it was somebody else. But maybe that's why they're like, well, you're not like an OG Vinci.
You're not part of the bloodline Imperium.
Yeah, you're not like one of the best. You're just a replacement, So I don't know, but that was disappointing. But great match.
Great match.
Then we move on to Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair exchanging words from the ring with Sonya Deville. We did get Ric Flair introducing Charlotte, and again, no one really cared, honestly. Which the only reason I was a little bit surprised about it is just because they've been hyping up his documentary or whatever.
That's why, yeah.
And so, but I think that it's like in his case, because he was not involved, he was involved with something like storylines like not that long ago. Maybe that's partially why people didn't really care either, other than, on top of the multiple controversies that he's dealt with. But one of the best tweets that I saw was, wait, is he not dating Lacey Evans anymore? And I just was like, I just started dying. Do you not remember that storyline? Okay, I was like, you're looking at me like
a second. It really took me a second.
So that,
and then out of nowhere to end whatever they were doing, she's like, I'm pregnant, and it's like, whoa.
yeah, you got pregnant by Rick? Like, ooh, okay. Yeah, that's disgusting. So, it's so gross. And then, and then she's coming back, and they're trying to make her into like the female Sergeant Slaughter or something, and I'm like, you really need to figure out something else because no one's gonna care. Like,
no, they don't, but it's like, you need that. I'm sorry, but there always needs to be that, like, I don't want to say like military person, but like a sergeant, drill sergeant type of person, military role, whether it's American or not, or galactic, I don't care. But someone who's just like a drill sergeant and that type of background, military stuff, because that actually could translate well into the ring with the vignettes that she's doing.
I mean, We shall see. She's
It's
supposed
all
to be.
about, you got to break it to the next level though with hardcore.
Yeah. So Charlotte comes out, talks about Raw being her home, and it was the home of the women's revolution, where she went on to become a 14-time women's champion. And she named some of her favorite opponents. I'm sorry, 14-time women's champion. Just like, it hurts me when I just think about legends, because like we can't.
We didn't even mention her in the legend segment. That was very rude of us.
Charlotte. Anyway, then Bianca comes out and she's like, "Hey, it's my show. I run Raw. I'm the Raw Women's Champion. I try to make sure that the show is good every week." Sonya then comes out and talks her trash, mocks Charlotte for having Flair fly all the way out here just to introduce her, and says, "You're just making the show all about you." And she says that she deserves a title match. Bianca offers herself, because Charlotte, of course, is just gonna be like, no. And so they do end up having a match. I guess nothing special. Great match for Sonya to be involved in, but Bianca does win, and then she grabs the mic afterwards and says that she has not forgotten about Alexa Bliss, who she is facing for the Raw Women's Championship on Saturday. I have to remember it's not Sunday anymore; it's Saturday. And she says that she can take on anyone that she has with her, including Uncle Howie, Bray Wyatt, any of the Playhouse puppets. She is willing to fight anybody. And then Alexa pops up on the screen, and I was kind of like taken aback about the things that she said. I was like, dang, this girl is getting violent. So she gets on the screen, says that she's the only one that Bianca needs to worry about, because, you know, she doesn't need anybody to be with her. And she says that she's going to tear her face open with her bare hands, but that she will spare her eyes so that she can see her walk out with the Raw Women's title. And I was like, girl. I was like, whoa, you know? I was like, Alexa, what are we doing? You know? I was just, yeah, what happened to you?
She's you know what she's doing, Sarah? She's reveling in who she is.
Yeah, she's just being her true, authentic self. But I kind of liked it because the whole Bray Wyatt stuff is supposed to be a little bit dark and like scary, eerie, whatever. And I liked that she kind of went to that level because we hadn't seen it from her yet. It was just kind of, you know, like, oh, she's a little like scary little lady that likes running around and like whatever. Like, it wasn't like anything deeper than that. So I liked that. I'm very excited about their match and what could or could not happen. So, but I did want to talk about the women because we did not have a lot of women represented on the show. And after Raw went off the air, the Bella Twins decided to take to their Instagram lives and call out WWE for the lack of women's revolution representation throughout the show. And I think there has been a couple other girls that have kind of co-signed what they were saying. Like I saw Maria Kanellis kind of hinted at something. I don't know who else has said anything. I haven't paid attention, but their main points were they were disappointed basically that they weren't there or that they weren't really shown, and that they feel like there wasn't a lot of the women's revolution shown. And to a certain extent I can agree, but in other aspects I think that they just need to take themselves down a notch, because I do think that they are better than they actually are, or that they were more instrumental in the women's division than they actually were. And you know, I understand having some issues with it, because I do feel, you know, the women's revolution started on Raw. It was with Paige, it was with Becky, it was with Charlotte, it was with Sasha. So it's like, I remember that day happening. I was at work and I remember my sister texting me being like, oh my God, Paige is on Raw. Like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, I remember. And so it does kind of suck that they didn't show us that. And a lot of it is going to be because Sasha is no longer with the company, and neither is Saraya, who is now in AEW. So to, you know, business standpoint, sure.
It makes sense. Yeah.
But you know, Nikki needs to take a little step backwards, honey, because her show was advertised during Raw, her wedding show. So
and Barmageddon follows it
constantly. The only and this is the thing is like, I think that people forget. Like, I don't want to discredit them for, you know, putting the wrestling stuff into like reality TV, because that is a huge thing that, you know, that's why like Ms. and Mrs. has a show, and why they got spin-offs and whatever. The Bellas left WWE. The only reason they came back was because of Total Divas. That's the only reason. So if we say that Total Divas never happened, where would they be? Would we be talking about Nikki and Brie Bella right now? No. Would they be in the Hall of Fame? No. Would they be complaining right now? No. So I get their argument to a certain point, but I do think the fact that they're trying to involve themselves in something and make it about them is just wrong, because Lita was advertised. She wasn't there. We didn't see Trish. We didn't see any of those women. Molly, Holly, none of those women were there. And I think that those are more so people that would have wanted to be seen by the fans than the Bellas.
Yeah, I usually don't go on little tangents like this about the Bellas because obvious reasons.
There's only a few people that I can go on tangents about, and they're just one of them. So
no, but they're literally kind of becoming that with how the wrestling landscape has changed, and they're known for it becoming popular in pop culture, and that's not a bad thing. I want to just preference my point by saying their influence on the wrestling industry is not a bad thing. But on this Raw last night, it was not about that. It was about the show itself and the wrestling element. Nikki Bella and Brie Bella are good wrestlers. Good. But they are not that next caliber that would make them, you know, in today's, you know, world or whatnot. Like, you're going to see Nikki Bella in a Hell in a Cell match, and you can see Nikki Bella in a Money in the Bank. You know, you'll see her in a Royal Rumble, but, you know, that's not that next echelon. And that's my issue with them, is that it has nothing to do with them as people. It is all about the show and what they wanted to do. And honestly, for their comments about who was not shown, I mean, she's not even Sasha Banks. She's Mercedes Moné, and she works for another company right now.
Exactly.
And maybe another one. So she's not going to be there, and they're not going to bring her up, you know.
It's
Lita,
the same thing with Paige or Saraya.
She's Saraya, they're not going to bring up.
Yeah, they're not. And it's not like a discredit, because this is a thing too. It was recent. I think it was Saraya that talked about it herself, that Triple H didn't know about her release and that they weren't like extending her. He had no idea. He had no involvement in that. So like, if we're going to talk about, oh, well, of course they don't want to like show them. It's like, okay, but Vince isn't involved in that kind of stuff, and Triple H had nothing to do with either of them being let go. So like, I don't know. I just think it's gross. Like, you can't bite the hand that feeds you. So it's like, you know, and it's like, it's what Freddie said. Freddie said, watch them both be in the Rumble. And they're talking all that ish on Instagram Live. Exactly. Like, I would not be surprised if they're there on Saturday, and yet they're still like on Instagram, like talking crap. And you know that they were bothered because they either were canceled on, like they were like, we don't need you, or they weren't shown. Because why are you getting on your Instagram Live talking about how you're bothered about all of this stuff? You were clearly bothered enough that you weren't shown, and that's why you got on, because you very easily could have taken to Twitter and just been like, where's all the women's segments, or what happened to Becky versus Bailey? Those are complaints that are legitimate and that you could have, but you made it about yourself again, because that's what you guys do, because you guys think that you're on the level up here with Trish, Lita, Charlotte, all of these other people, and you're not. I'm sorry. When we think about the best women's matches of all time, the Bella Twins are not going to be in there. So, nor do I think about Raw and think about them. The first thing that I think of when I think about Raw when it comes to women, Trish and Lita. Chyna. Like, those are the women I think about. The Bellas, I don't think about them.
Sunny.
Shut up. Stop it.
She was the OG diva. Like,
okay,
I'm
well,
sorry,
you know what?
as hot as she was.
Because you're being serious now, but, you know.
I am being serious.
I know.
Sunny.
But anyway.
She wasn't a wrestler. She was the diva.
I know. So to finish the night, it was Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory for the U.S. title. Nothing super amazing about this, except I was a little bummed that we did not get Jacket Theory, 2 Chain Theory, but, you know, he was in serious mode, so he had to wear his gear and whatever. But this was like the 18th time that they faced each other. So I would say it was like pretty on par with what we've seen from them before in their matchups. And it ended with Lashley putting Theory through a table. I actually liked the way this ended, not because of Lesnar, because Lesnar's music hits, he comes out, right? I liked what he did, though, because I felt like it was so cool. Like, it just looked effortless. Like, it almost looked like it was supposed to be an accident, but it wasn't. So he comes out, he gets into the ring and F5's Lashley, and then he F5's Theory. And then he has Theory land on top of Lashley. So he's pinning him, and then he wins. And then that screws Lashley out of the US title once again. Therefore, moving forward with the match that apparently a lot of people have wanted to see, and that is a Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. So that is being teased. When we're going to see that, I don't know. I feel like that's something they're going to want to save for Mania. But
yeah, obviously.
yeah.
I love this side of Brock Lesnar. I really do. Because now this is a side of Brock Lesnar where it's not, holding the championship hostage.
Yeah, there's someone else doing that right now.
Exactly. There's another, perpetrator.
Our tribal chief.
A tribal chief and with Brock Lesnar now, he just wants to get paid and have fun doing this stuff, it seems like. I mean, him throwing Theory like that, he probably thought of that idea and to give like Theory or whatever, like the win. And he's going to be a lot more of a fun but ass kicker character. He's not just going to be this, killing machine, held on a leash by Paul Heyman. He's going to be Brock Lesnar, the person.
He's more himself. It's more of like who Brock Lesnar is in real life now. We
got a piece of that at the 2018 Rumble, I think it was, where people were coming in to face him 1-to-1. And we were seeing his like genuine reactions. I mean, when Shelton came in, Keith Lee came in. That's the type of Brock we're going to get for, the foreseeable future. Have him face guys like this. Have him face Lashley, Gunther, Strowman.
That's right. They want Lesnar and Gunther at Mania. So yeah, maybe we won't see Bobby, but maybe we'll hear about that. I don't know, maybe on SmackDown, or maybe he demands a match at the Rumble for later. I don't know. Or Freddie's even saying maybe if Bobby's in the Rumble, so maybe Brock will end up in the Rumble as well.
Freddie,
because Lashley is already declared. So Austin not being on Raw 30 makes me think he's going to be a surprise entrant at the Rumble. I knew that they were saying something that they had proposed an idea for him to be at the Raw, but I don't know. We shall see. And yeah, if he's at at Rumble, then dude, you guys are lucky. And it's in Texas. The Rumble's in Texas. Isn't it in San Antonio? He's from Victoria, Victoria. It's in Austin? I thought it was in San Antonio.
No, someone's from Austin. It's Raquel Rodriguez is from Austin.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that
it is in San Antonio. Raquel Rodriguez is from Austin, and you're right. I'm combining.
So anyway, so we might get that sooner than Mania, especially if they are going to be going forward with Gunther versus Lesnar at Mania, which I feel like that's going to be really interesting because Gunther is pretty good on the mic and Lesnar isn't. So I feel like their back and forth would be kind of interesting.
I don't think we've been able to see Lesnar's full potential.
No, I know, but I mean, like, it's just they're so polar opposites because Gunther is very much like uptight and like serious and like this, and then Lesnar comes out in like a ripped flannel hat, like flannel shirt and a cowboy hat. It's like so different.
Riding a tractor.
Yeah, so I don't know. We shall see, but that was Raw.
That was Raw. I do have a couple comments that I don't think I got to that I do want to show out. Where is it here? The Montez. I don't know if anyone knew this, but Bianca and Montez are also coming out with their own show, which I'm very excited for because this is like this is gonna be good. It's gonna be like 2 stars, I would say, like at their like hitting their peak or getting to that point. And I have a feeling that they're gonna want to have the show when Montez becomes champion. So
I think
get renewed for a little bit.
It says a lot about how they feel about both of them, which I think is really cool.
Alexa's promo was absolutely fire. I mean, god damn the imagery that she puts into your head.
I know.
It really is incredible. They'll be at the Rumble. And then David also said that he just, I mean, loves your rants of the banners.
yeah.
Who doesn't? I mean, just get on that soapbox, girl, and go.
I will.
And then we also, we have a new part-timer.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's what we got. That was Raw, and we got a whole another week of wrestling ahead. A very important week, Sarah, because it's Rumble. The Royal Rumble.
We're hoping to have like a reaction show after the Rumble.
Hoping, yes.
Yeah. No watch party.
We'll not do watch. Yeah.
No, but maybe we'll probably do something afterwards. Just hop on here and give our immediate thoughts, probably.
Yeah, just like
nothing too structured. Yeah, just probably like, not a SmackDown show. Probably no SmackDown show this week.
Yeah, probably no SmackDown show. But we are going to get the podcast, Sarah.
Yes.
And the podcast is important this week because we will be we're doing something that I have brought over from my college traditions into a little podcast tradition, hopefully, Sarah, with the Royal Rumble pool. What it is a couple friends of mine, and we get together and we pick numbers for the pool, for the Royal Rumble. Whoever comes out at your number is who you get. And if you win, well, guess what? You get the pot. But this year, I decided to do things differently, and I will be drawing the numbers on the show during the 3 count of the podcast. So that's going to be something that we're going to be doing on Thursday this week, along with another show. Might be Rumble predictions, might be something else. Who knows? So you got to follow us everywhere. The podcast, you subscribe on every podcast app you have, pretty much. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, the big ones. And then also follow us on Twitter at Pat_Pitts for me, at SMarshXO for Sarah, and then Instagram Pitsy35 and at SMarsh_. All right, underscore after that XO. And then obviously everyone should be subscribing to Sarah's YouTube page. Check her out. We got all of our videos, live streams from the wrestling stuff, and Sarah's got Patriot stuff too, because not only am I a Renaissance man who thinks he can, Sarah is a Renaissance woman who knows that she can. So, there's a little bit of variety there. So, go check it out. And Sarah, any other final thoughts? Anything I didn't touch upon that you would like to, dot I's, cross T's?
Shout out to Giovanni Vinci.
All right.
And Jimmy Garoppolo.
I hope to see you on Saturday, Rock. So that's my final thought. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. And remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you on Thursday.